Jungle. Audio Jungle.
My channel is State of Affairs Zimbabwe, where we break down the hidden stories, political power plays, and the truth behind every major headline in Zimbabwe. Today we dive deep into one of the most sensitive and controversial issues in the corridors of power, reports that the new wife of Vice President Constantino, Chiwenga, is under pressure to resign from the Zimbabwe National Army, allegedly due to moves by the Mnangagwa regime to weaken the vice president's influence. This story goes beyond family. It's about power, control, military loyalty, and how the relationships of Zimbabwe's most powerful men affect the direction of national politics. Let's go deep into the analysis. For months, quiet rumors have been spreading inside political and military circles that the vice president's new wife, who currently holds a senior position in the Zimbabwe National Army, might soon be forced to resign. The reasons given publicly are described as administrative restructuring, but political analysts, insiders, and former security officials say otherwise. They believe this is part of a larger plan to gradually isolate Chiwenga, remove his loyalists, and weaken his strong grip within the armed forces. To understand why this is happening, we must look at the history of power between President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his deputy, General Constantino Chiwenga. These two men were allies during the 2017 military intervention that removed Robert Mugabe from power. Back then, they stood side by side, Mnangagwa as the political strategist, Chiwenga as the military muscle. But as years passed, the alliance slowly transformed into a silent rivalry. Chiwenga, known as a decorated Liberation War commander and a man of discipline, still commands deep respect within the Army and war veteran community. Mnangagwa, on the other hand, has built his power base through political networks, business elites, and a new wave of younger loyalists within ZANU-PF and government structures. The main issue now lies in control of the security apparatus, especially the Army. Chiwenga's wife, being an officer within the military, is viewed by some in the ruling establishment as a symbol of influence, a reminder that the vice president's reach extends deep into the military hierarchy. 4. Mnangagwa's inner circle. This is uncomfortable. It represents a potential security risk if loyalties are divided. The Mnangagwa administration has, in recent years, reportedly reshuffled several officers close to Chiwenga, either transferring them to diplomatic posts, moving them into civilian departments, or quietly retiring them under the claim of routine transition. Analysts say forcing Chiwenga's wife to resign could be part of this same strategy, a move designed to send a message that no one, not even those close to the vice president, is untouchable. But what does this mean politically? It means Mnangagwa is consolidating power in preparation for what many believe could be his final term strategy. The battle is not just about now, it's about succession. Who controls the military after Mnangagwa? Who will lead ZANU-PF into the future? Chiwenga has long been seen as a natural successor. He has military credibility, popular support among veterans, and a nationalist image that appeals to the party's traditional base. But Mnangagwa's allies fear that Chiwenga's return to full control could undo their networks of influence and business interests. So, the quiet strategy is to politically and institutionally deconstruct his foundation, step by step. Remove loyal generals, replace senior commanders, restructure military departments, and now even touch personal matters like his wife's position. This is not just a political game, it's psychological warfare. In ZANU-PF politics, power is not always taken in public. It's taken quietly, through systems and influence. However, such actions also have risks. The military remains a sensitive institution in Zimbabwe. If the army perceives that one of its own is being targeted for political reasons, it can create silent discontent. Historically, the army has played a decisive role in stabilizing or destabilizing leadership transitions, from the Mugabe era to the post-2017 period. Chiwenga's supporters within the army reportedly see these developments as an attempt to humiliate the general. But Chiwenga himself has remained disciplined and silent, maintaining his official duties and avoiding public confrontation. That silence, however, is often interpreted by observers as a sign of strategic patience, a waiting game. Inside ZANU-PF, the issue is being discussed carefully. Some believe this is the Mnangagwa camp's way of testing Chiwenga's reaction. If he reacts emotionally or politically, they gain justification to further isolate him. If he stays calm, they continue tightening the rope around his influence. But the bigger question remains. What will this do to the image of national unity within Zimbabwe's top leadership? Publicly, the two leaders still appear side by side during national events. They smile, they shake hands, and they read speeches promising stability. But behind closed doors, multiple sources describe a cold atmosphere. Meetings are formal but tense. Communication between their offices goes through layers of protocol. Now, with this latest move, and if indeed the First Lady's office or Mnangagwa's advisors are involved, it may further fracture trust between the president and his deputy. Let's look deeper at the symbolic importance of this. In African politics, a leader's spouse is often more than just a family figure. They represent an extension of influence and status. Forcing Chiwenga's wife to resign from the army, especially if perceived as political punishment, could be seen as undermining the vice president's dignity. It sends a message to the entire establishment about who truly controls the system. Observers say Mnangagwa's regime has mastered the art of using administrative moves to achieve political goals. They don't need to arrest you or fire you publicly. They simply move your people out of power positions, block promotions, or use policy adjustments to achieve political isolation. Some insiders in the security sector told journalists that this alleged forced resignation has been discussed quietly for months. It's being framed as a matter of professional ethics, since it's unusual for the spouse of a top political leader to remain an active officer. But others argue it's selective enforcement, because similar situations have existed before without issue. The truth may lie in the middle, a mix of professionalism and politics. But in Zimbabwe, where politics defines every institution, few believe such timing is coincidence. The broader effect of this is morale. In the army, loyalty is sacred. Many officers still credit Chiwenga for leading them through the 2017 political change that ended Mugabe's rule. If they see their former commander being slowly disempowered, they might interpret it as betrayal. This could shift how power is perceived across the security sector, creating unspoken divisions between those loyal to Mnangagwa's civilian administration and those who still identify with the military spirit of Chiwenga's leadership. The Mnangagwa regime, however, is known for its intelligence awareness and calculated steps. It's unlikely they would make such a move without carefully analyzing the potential backlash. The goal may be to weaken Chiwenga just enough to prevent him from being a political threat, but not enough to provoke military resistance. This fine balance of containment without confrontation has defined Mnangagwa's leadership style. But let's consider another side. Could this also be a matter of image management for Chiwenga himself? Having a wife still active in the military could raise conflict of interest questions, especially if he ascends to the presidency in the future. So, in some interpretations, this move could also be framed as a step to clean up his image ahead of a possible leadership transition. However, the key question remains: who benefits? Because in Zimbabwean politics, every move has a beneficiary. And when power is at stake, there are rarely coincidences. Political commentators in Harare suggest that this entire development reveals the deep mistrust between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga's factions. It's a continuation of an unspoken Cold War, one fought not with guns, but with policy, appointments, and quiet removals. At the same time, it signals a new phase in Zimbabwe's succession battle. As the 2028 elections approach, Mnangagwa's team is securing total control of institutions, from the judiciary, parliament, and security agencies to the media and the party structures. Anyone perceived as a future challenger, including Chiwenga, faces slow but calculated dismantling of influence. The forced resignation of his wife, If it happens, will be one more step in that broader pattern. The long-term impact? It could shape how power transfers in Zimbabwe for the next decade. It could determine whether ZANU-PF maintains unity or splits under internal rivalries. It could also test whether the army remains politically neutral or eventually reasserts itself if power becomes too centralized. For now, the public remains in the dark. There's been no official statement from the Ministry of Defense, from State House, or from Chiwenga's office. The silence itself is political. In Zimbabwe, silence is not absence of communication. It is communication. Every gesture, every reshuffle, every appointment tells a story. And the story now being told quietly is that the Mnangagwa regime is preparing for the next chapter, one where the military is completely under civilian control, and where potential rivals are surrounded not by soldiers, but by the invisible walls of political power. Every gesture, every reshuffle, every appointment tells a story. And the story now being told quietly is that the Mnangagwa regime is preparing for the next chapter, one where the military is completely under civilian control, and where potential rivals are surrounded not by soldiers, but by the invisible walls of political power. As this situation unfolds, state of affairs. Zimbabwe will continue monitoring every development, because this is not just about one woman resigning from the army. It's about what that act represents, the slow but steady restructuring of Zimbabwe's power map. The question for the months ahead, will Chiwenga accept this move quietly, or will he use his political intelligence and long-game strategy to reassert himself in the corridors of power? Time will tell. This is State of Affairs Zimbabwe, bringing you deep, fearless political analysis on the stories shaping our nation. Subscribe, share, and stay tuned, because the truth deserves to be told, no matter how uncomfortable it is.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.